Hello and welcome to Casual Learning. I'm your host, John Bannon. Today I'm going to review Chapter 7 of my newest book, God and Our Superdeterministic Universe, the number one argument for the existence of God. This book is available on Amazon Kindle. Chapter 7 is entitled Life is Special. Because the universe is predetermined and non temporally created um, by a supremely intelligent God, then you are special because God chose to create you to exist in his predetermined plan for the universe. And not an infinite number of other possible people who weren't actually created to exist in this predetermined universe. You derive meaning from God's purpose in choosing you to exist in his predetermined universe. Human beings are special because only human beings can comprehend the existence of God and God's will for humanity. One might wonder, what's the point in living a predetermined life? And the answer is because you are predetermined to exist in this universe, then you are guaranteed an afterlife, unlike all those other possible people who God did not create in this universe. So, because God created a predetermined universe, and uh, part of his will for humanity was what Jesus has told us, um, because Jesus promised an afterlife, then because you exist in this predetermined universe, you are promised an afterlife. God has told you through Jesus that there is an afterlife for those who actually exist in this universe. Now, you might think, well, isn't it boring to live a predetermined life that you can't possibly change? And the answer is it would be if you knew what it was. But you generally can't know the future in a predetermined universe. Because if you could, then you could act to change that predetermined future, which would mean it wasn't predetermined. So it's logically impossible. So, because of that, there's no such thing as temporal causation to allow you to actually change the future. So, because of that, you can't generally know the predetermined future. Um, there may be incidents where you could know the predetermined future, provided that knowledge couldn't possibly change the predetermined future, such as in some sort of divine revelation or prophecy, or perhaps scientifically speaking, for instance, in quantum entanglement, you could know what the spin of one photon would be after you measured the other one. So you kind of know what the future's going to be, but that knowledge isn't going to change the future spin of this particle. So in those circumstances, you could know a predetermined future, but that's unusual. The usual case is you cannot know the predetermined future. Now, there's a lot of people today in our secular society who will claim that life is not special. And they will say that human beings are meaningless specks that exist on a planet that is in a meaningless galaxy in an infinitely vast universe, and that in comparison to the cosmos, you are an insignificant temporary speck of nothing. These people are completely wrong. Under superdeterminism, life is objectively special. Now, the problem these people have is that they make their comparison in terms of size. So, well, because this galaxy is so much bigger than you, then it must be more important than you. Well, in terms of size, that would be true, but size is relatively easy to get in the universe. You just need the gravitational pull to attract more matter and mass to yourself to make yourself bigger. So, and in fact, the more mass and matter you have, the more mass and matter you can add. So, creating size in the universe is a lot easier than creating complexity in the universe. And complexity is the better comparison because complexity is so much rarer in the universe than size. So, human beings are the most special thing in the entire universe in terms of complexity because there's nothing in the universe that is more complex than the human brain. So, um, in terms of complexity, humanity, to our knowledge, is the most special thing in the entire universe. Uh, you know, with all due respect to the stars really ought to be marveling at humanity. Now, under superdeterminism, the future creates, the future depends on the past, and the past depends on the future. So the past causes the future, and the future retro causes the past. And this is all due to the general strict determinism of superdeterminism. So this creates a principle of universal codependence. What it means is that everything that happens in the universe is codependent on everything else that happens in the universe because of this causal retrocausal connection. Plus, it's all predetermined to occur. Um, so, nothing in the universe, no events in the universe can claim a causal superiority to anything else, whether that happens in the future or the past. So, some people like to say, well, um, things that happen in the past are more important than things that happen now because they happened in the past. And without those things, what happened now couldn't occur. Well, that's true, but it's also true that due to retrocausality, the things that happen in the future create the past. So the past couldn't have happened without this predetermined future. So things like claiming that, well, because organic molecules for life depend on certain elements that can only be created through a supernova explosion at some time in the distant past, then that supernova explosion was objectively more important than the humanity that it caused to create. Well, that's not true. Under a principle of universal codependence, the fact that human beings were predetermined to occur in the future and their existence in the future retro causes what occurs in the past. Um, the future existence of human beings, causally speaking, is just as important as a supernova explosion that created, let's say, heavier elements necessary for organic molecules. Some people like to say, well, because Christianity is in part based on primitive pagan religions, then Christianity being dependent on those primitive pagan religions can't be true because those primitive pagan religions weren't true and they caused Christianity to exist. But under the principle of universal codependence, the future existence of Christianity retro causes the primitive past religions. So you can't make that claim of um, denigrating Christianity based on primitive origins when the primitive origins are just as dependent upon the future existence of Christianity. Some of these people who don't think life is special will tell you to be humbled by the vastness of the cosmos, that you're insignificant in comparison to the vastness of the cosmos, and you should be humbled by that vastness. That's completely wrong. Um, Human beings are objectively special in the universe. Um, and they're unique because God predetermined the existence of human beings, and only human beings can comprehend God and God's will for humanity. The cosmos can't do that. So there is no reason for human beings to be humble in the face of the cosmos or this, inanimate matter. Not at all. Human beings should be humble in the face of their creator, God, a supremely intelligent being who created their existence, but not humbled because of the vastness of the universe. Um, Life is the central purpose for the existence of the universe. So, why should humanity be humbled by the cosmos when the only reason the cosmos exists is to give rise to life and humanity? That makes no sense. Because our universe is predetermined to have life arise in it, and because life is so astoundingly rare among the possible permutations of our universe, then it appears that our universe was purposely created to give rise to predetermined life. Now, this argument is more fully explored in my other book, The Superdeterministic Design Argument for the Existence of God. This book is also available on Amazon Kindle. But the argument goes like this. Famous physicist Roger Penrose calculated that the number of possible permutations of this universe is a vast number. It's 10 to the 10 to the 123rd. So, how rare is life? Well, you can estimate the total number of habitable planets in the universe. Now, there's about 287 million habitable planets in our galaxy, and there's about 2 trillion galaxies in the universe, which means that the total number of habitable planets in the universe is roughly 5.74 times 10 to the 20th. Now, because the total number of permutations of the universe, this number, is a mass driven number, then it is reasonable to assume that the number of permutations that would have life would also be mass driven. So you can estimate the total number of permutations of this number that might give rise to life based on mass. So if you know the total number of habitable planets in the universe, by taking the mass of those habitable planets and taking it as a fraction of the total mass of the universe, you can make a rough estimate of what percentage of these permutations are likely to contain life. So if you do the calculation, assuming that habitable planets have roughly the same mass of Earth, which is 5.972 times 10 to the 24 kilograms, then the total mass of habitable planets would be 3.42 7928 times 10 to the 45 kilograms. The mass of the observable universe is approximately 10 to the 53 kilograms. So the fraction of the mass of the universe that does not include habitable planets is 10 to the 53 kilograms minus 3.427928 times 10 to the 45 kilograms divided by 10 to the 53 kilograms, or so that's the fraction of the mass um, of the universe that would not contain life. So the fraction of the universe that would contain life is so the fraction of the universe that would contain habitable planets. In other words, the possibility of life, because you need a habitable planet to have life, is about this tiny fraction of the mass of the universe. So you could use this tiny fraction as an estimate for the percentage of permutations of our universe that might contain life. So this is an extremely tiny number. So basically, 0.000342792 of this number might contain life. That just shows you that life is extraordinarily rare among these 10 to the 10 to the 123rd possible permutations of our universe. Extraordinarily rare. This leads to the reasonable inference that our universe was purposely created because life will arise in it. It's predetermined to arise in it, which means life is special. So, in a superdeterministic universe where life is predetermined to exist in that universe, among this number of universes that do not exist, life is exceedingly rare, which allows one to infer that life is special. Um, okay, I hope you learned something and you enjoyed that. Uh, Next stop is chapter 8 of my book, which is called Pick Your Fantasy. So see you next time. Take care.